Hey everybody, welcome to the Persian Wars. We're going to start with Darius, who's the king of Persia, also known as the King of Kings. And at this time in history, he has built the largest empire that the world has ever seen. And he does it, and he maintains stability because of the genius of the satrapy, which is a kingdom, kind of like a little state, and there is a satrap in charge of each satrapy, like a king. So if you want to think about it like the United States, a satrapy would be like a state, like Georgia or Alabama, and the satrap would be the king or like the governor. They report to the King of Kings, Darius, or if we're going to continue with this metaphor, the president. Now, why is this strategy so effective? It's amazing because it allows cultures that have been conquered by the Persians to keep their traditions. If they called, their local king a pharaoh, then they could maintain that part of their identity without having to completely subscribe and assimilate to Persian customs. They also built the Royal Road, which connected Persia in amazing ways so that they could move military and supplies. And the Persian military had so many people. Because they had conquered so much land, they had tons of people to draw upon. Their military was mostly based on bows and spears. Now, the Ionian Revolt of 500 BC happens on the Ionian Peninsula. So Ionia is Turkey. If you don't know where Turkey is, I would implore you to look it up. And the Persians took over Ionia. If you're looking at a map right now, you'll be able to tell that Ionia is very close to Greece, and Ionian Greek city-states were definitely present at that time. So the Ionian Greeks did not like that the Persians wanted to take over their land, so they called on their other Greek friends for help. So they asked the Spartans, and the Spartans were busy creating a super powerful military, but they never used it. And if you want to know more about that, check out my last episode. Then they asked the Athenians, and the Athenians, of course, had to vote on that. If you want to learn about that, check out 2 episodes ago. But then they decided that they wanted to help out the Ionian Greeks, so the Athenians sent 20 ships to burn down a temple and then, just head out. That made Darius, the King of Kings, really mad at Athens, so the Persians sent a giant fleet to attack them, and then they wanted to make them captive. Now, the Battle of Marathon is Athens versus Persia. Athens has an army of about 10,000, with Persia having an army of estimated 25,000 to 45,000, plus 100,000 armed oarsmen on ships. They are extremely outnumbered. What they decide to do is send a runner from Athens to Sparta, which is 140 miles. This guy ran it in 2 days. They really wanted help from the Spartans, and the Spartans were busy again. So the Persians are getting off their boats in a little place called Marathon, and the Athenians are freaked out. They think they're going to die, and they run all the way from Athens to Marathon because they wanted to die like Achilles with a brief, glorious life. And they go, and they win because the Persians were just getting off the boats. And when they tried to regroup, when the Athenians started massacring them, they got hit by a storm. Then the Athenians sent a runner from Marathon to let Athens know that everything was okay. They didn't have to flee the city. There were no Persians that were going to come. So the runner ran all the way back to Marathon, which is 26.2 miles, and then he dropped dead. Fast forward a couple years, and we have Xerxes, who is the son of Darius, the son of the King of Kings, and he wants to seek revenge. We also call him Xerx the Jerk. Now we're in 480 BC, and we got Xerxes versus the Greeks. They march all the way from the capital in Persepolis on land, and they have a naval fleet. And Xerxes goes with them because he wants to see Athens destroyed. He brings an army estimated of 300,000 to 500,000, which is akin to the size of Napoleon's army or the entire U.S. Army. Diplomats would go ahead of the army, and they would ask for soil and water, which basically means we're going to take your land. They have a little bit of a problem, the Persians do, when they don't know how to get across Helen's Point, which is like a 1.5 mile kind of waterway. So his engineers come up with the idea to create a pontoon bridge where they line up all the boats and reeds. And as soon as they get it finished, after it takes them forever, a storm comes and ruins it. And then Xerxes orders his people to whip the water to punish it, then build another pontoon bridge after he killed the people that built the first pontoon bridge. It takes 7 days and nights for his entire army to march across this 1.5 mile long bridge, because that's how many people he had. And they brought war elephants and chariots. Then when he gets across, Xerxes starts crying because he's like, this is so sad. All of these people are going to be dead. Athens submits to the diplomats, but the Spartans kick the diplomats down a well. They're wearing blood red cloaks like they always are, and helmets so that you cannot see their blood. As the Spartans are fighting the Persians, they're doing all right, but they're trying to hold one little spot, and the Persians get them with arrows. So they go to the Oracle of Delphi and ask for help by Athenians. Themistocles is the admiral of Athens, and the oracle says that wooden walls will not fail. So Themistocles takes this idea and he says, we got to build a navy. We got to get out of Athens. We got to build a navy. We got to move to an island. We got to destroy the Persian navy, and we got to cut off their supply lines. So they lure them into the Straits of Salamis. Then they have the Battle of Salamis, which is a seriously important battle for the world. Themistocles tricks Xerxes with a secret letter. And then, in the water, the Athenian ships start ramming like warboats into the sides of the Persian military fleet. They're using boats that are a trireme, so they have these big oars and these big pokey things that stick out the front, so they basically just impale the side of your boat, like T-bone your boat in the water. It's crazy. And that's how Sparta defeats the Persian army. When the Athenians go back to Athens, the Parthenon is in ruins from the Persians. Then they don't know what to do, so they vote on it. Should we leave it as rubble? Should we rebuild what we had? Should we completely rebuild it? Now they have a ruler called Pericles. We're talking like 500 to 325 BC. And nobody really knows if he's good or bad. He beautifies Athens, develops a paid judicial system, a paid government position, paid government positions, but he's in the government, and encourages the open competition, the plays, art, sculpture, and war. And they decide to build Athens back up. They get money from this league they form called the Athenian League or the Delian League. And it basically says, hey, we're Athens. We've beat Persia so many times. We're like your protection racket. We'll protect you from Persia. They have a sacred island called Delos that no one lives on, where they keep all the silver. Athens goes to Corinth and says basically we're gonna make you join the Athenian League. Corinth asks Sparta for help, and the Spartans finally say yes, and we have a big war, the Peloponnesian War, which is Athens versus Sparta. Now that you know all about the military strategies of Athens and Sparta and how they compare and contrast, I'm sure it's not hard for you to guess who wins. The crazy people. But it takes the Spartans 30 years to win, and their slaves are revolting while they're gone. That's just the legacy of Sparta. But next up, on the next episode, we're going to get into Alexander the Great, Philip of Macedon, and all of the crazy things that he does to spread Greek culture even further and take over the Persian Empire. Spoiler alert, I will see y'all in the next episode. Thank you for listening.